Welcome to the Relaxed Dog Podcast, the podcast where the dogs are the stars of the show. Welcome to the Relaxed Dog Podcast, sponsored by the Relaxed Dog. Thank you for listening. I am your host, Robert Ober, and I hope that you and your dog or dogs are well. I'm super happy to say that our little group of listeners are growing. So thank you to the listener in Paris, France, and also to Dublin, Ireland. One listener each. Go and tell a friend. Okay. This week, apart from a little bit of doggy news, our guest will be Nigel Wallis from the New South Wales Siberian Express Running Club. But first, another heartbreaking Hachi story, and surprisingly, again in Wuhan in China. Unfortunately, a person went with their dog to a bridge late at night and jumped off. The dog was seen around the bridge by repair workers for a few days. They tried to give it some food and water. Someone did do a rescue attempt on the dog, and unfortunately it ran away. So that's yet another example of just the loyalty that these creatures have for us. Let's hope that that doggy gets found and looked after. And just to note that if you know someone who is feeling a little down, let them know that you're there. I mean, isn't that what friends are for? In more positive news, a 5-year-old Welsh Terrier by the name of Philo from Friendship, Arkansas, was recently picked up in a place called Dixon, which is 600 miles away from his home. And whilst he has been reunited with his family, they have no idea how he got that far away. And now, this week's interview with Nigel. Welcome everyone to Relaxed Dog, and today I'm speaking with my friend and mentor, Nigel, and we're going to talk about
Tonrar.
Tonrar. Slightly unusual name to start with.
It's we've owned Malamutes for about 20 years now, and we've always had sort of normal names. And Karen, my wife, wanted something very, very different. So she spent a long time researching. And when we actually picked him up, or when we actually went and viewed him with the breeder, Penny Selden, he was light grey, but he had this black stripe down his back, and it was his adult colour coming through. She goes, "Oh, that's his devil streak." So she went and researched that, and Tonrar is actually Inuit for devil or spirit.
Mm-hmm.
So that's sort of how his name came about.
Oh, cool. No, I really like it when people put that little bit of extra sort of effort behind the name. It's very unique, very nice.
Yeah, most of ours have got unique names. I think there's for various different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
We try not to name them along the normal sort of social lines that especially when it comes to Malamutes or Arctic breeds. I cringe when I hear things like Nanook or Snowy or those sort of things. I'm like, oh, come on, something more original. But people can name their dogs whatever they like. We just like to be a bit more different. We've got Sauvignon. It's actually Cabernet Sauvignon, so she's named after a bottle of wine that we're drinking when we picked her up. After we picked her up, not why we picked her up. Triad. Actually, she's a rescue. She came in with the name Triad. Her sister is Yakuza, who also floats around the sled scene from time to time. Zane was named by Zachary, just wanted something very different, so he called him Zane because he thought he was a bit zany when he came in from rescue. Who else? We got Cheezel. That was definitely going right out there. It's like named after a packet of chips. when we first met her, we thought she was a bit loopy, so she was named after Cheezels. And then we've got BB Chaser. So BB was actually named after BB-8. He's a red, so he's a red husky, and he was named after BB-8 from Star Wars. That was by Ben's dog, so he was a big Star Wars fan. And then finally we've got Rain and Cinder. So Rain and Cinder are the two new puppies that came in at the end of last year. Obviously, big major bushfires through New South Wales at the time, so Cinder got his name from the bushfires. And we're also in a drought, and the one thing we wanted more than anything was rain. So they got the name Cinder and Rain.
Mm-hmm. And for those people sort of aren't familiar with yourself, Nigel's also part of the Siberian Express running club. So we had Pete on a little while back. Pete is crazy about Siberians.
My wife is crazy about Siberian Huskies. She's got 4 Siberians, but I am definitely very much rooted in the Malamute camp with my Alaskan Malamutes. So yeah, we have 4 Siberians and 4 Alaskan Malamutes splitting the family, which is almost in line with everything else in this family. Actually, I'm Queensland bred. My wife is New South Wales bred, so we got Maroons versus New South Wales as state of origin. So it's almost the dog version of that, Siberians versus Malamutes. So we always seem to be in competition with each other on pretty well every front. Of
makes for a fun household.
Makes for an interesting household.
So, did you have the pick of the litter?
With Tonrar, no. So Tonrar came about through a series of events. So, as I said, we've had Malamutes for a lot of years. And we lost Aspen and Kane 11 months apart through cancer with both of them, unfortunately. And both of them were obviously very, very sudden losses. So we found ourselves without a Malamute, or without a dog, period. So we approached AMRA at the time, so Alaskan Malamute Rehome, and we fostered 2 Malamutes for them for a short period of time. And then they moved on, and we're without Malamutes again. And we couldn't deal with not having Malamutes. So we contacted our breeder, said Penny, and we said, listen, if you got a litter coming up, we're down. As you know, we've lost both Aspen. Aspen was one of Penny's dogs, and we've also lost Kane. So she goes, well, actually, I've got a litter here at the moment, and I've got 1 dog left. And she goes, somebody else has viewed it, but if you guys want it, given everything he's went through with Aspen and all those sorts of things, she goes, I'd love for it to go to you back to, love for the dog to go to you guys. And no worries. So we went up and viewed him. There were two there we could select between. So there was number 5 and number 3. If you know anything about breeders, they'll number their dogs based on how they're born, as opposed to naming them initially. And Benjamin, our youngest, loved number 5. Absolutely adored number 5. It was this quiet little puppy that just stayed to itself, and it was really sooky and stuff like that. And Ben wanted number 5. But I like dogs to be a bit more lively. And there was Tonrar, and he was the second biggest puppy there. He was a ball of mess. He was just over everything and running over everything and jumping on things and stuff like that. And I said to Karen, I said, that's the dog we need back in. We need the joy back. We need a dog that's going to really liven up the house. So we took Tonrar. Number 5, which is actually Robbie. Robbie's with a family down in South Australia, which we're in contact with, Anita. So we keep in touch and keep up with Robbie. But that's sort of how Tonrar came into the house. And he's still the big loudmouth ball of energy. He's now 6 years old. Pretty well anyone, if we hit the forest, people know when we arrive, because we'll stake Tonrar out and he'll announce the arrival of the family to the whole entire forest for the next 20 minutes after that. So, but he's a fun dog. He's something a little bit different, something a little bit special, and certainly keeps us on our toes.
And any initial dramas, sort of like coming into the household?
Well, he came in as an only dog, so no, not really. We crate train our dogs, so they're put in crates very, very early in life, and we do that for a number of reasons. One, they learn very, very quickly that it's their bedroom, it's their safe space.
Yep.
We we never heard of crate training with our other dogs, and even our other previous Malamutes until we moved over to Canada. So we spent 12 months in Canada working over there, and I got to know a lot of people over there through different event areas and stuff like that. And that's where we came across the real, I suppose, circle of around crate training. And I suppose we're talking 15 years ago now. So we sort of got into it there and started to learn what it was all about when we're living over in Canada. And we realised the not importance of it, but the benefits of it. And we see it now, so he came in as a one dog. We now have 8. And they're all different energy levels, they're different ages, they're different personalities. But anytime one of them want to time out, we got 3 crates that sit out the back on the deck. And if any of them ever want to time out, they just walk into a crate.
Mm-hmm.
And immediately every other dog knows they're out. They don't want to play anymore. Because they all know that those crates is their timeout area. It's their little safe haven area, and they feel secure in that environment. So they're never closed. The only time we ever shut the doors on them is if there's been an issue with one of the dogs or someone who's injured. And that's the other advantage to them. If you've got an injured dog and they are crate trained, you can put them in those crates and keep them quiet and keep them safe and look after the injury.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's interesting too that you said that between the 8 of them that you have 3 crates there, because I know a lot of people normally would have 1 per dog, and the dog knows that that's my zone, but you've done it so that they sort of like share the safe zones.
Yeah, we do have it. We have enough crates to do 1 per dog if we really, really need to. So if we know we've got a really, really bad weather event coming in, before we built all the individual weatherproof yards, if we had a weather event coming in here in the Central Tablelands where we're down to -6s, -7s with sleet and snow and that sort of stuff, they did have individual crates fully covered and those sorts of things. But now they've got all their own individual yards down in the back there. Most of them, I think, larger than most Sydney backyards. But anyway, they'll come and go from those yards. But the crates are there if they just want to duck in, or if they're being harassed. Especially with the pups. When the twins came in, we got Cheezel, who's the older. She's 14 months old. So she harassed the puppies coming in fairly horrifically, playfully, but just non-stop, relentless.
Okay.
So the pups would just duck into a crate, and she'd know straight away, okay, you want to hop out for a little while. So, but it works well.
And they mostly outside. You have them inside the home as well.
They rotate through. So you can imagine 4 Alaskan Malamutes and 4 Siberian Huskies all in the lounge room at once would probably be a little bit hectic.
Who does the rostering?
So we tend to rate. we do. We roster them through. So we've got 8 fully secured yards. So we'll let 3 or 4 out at a time.
Mm-hmm.
That keeps the pack size a little bit smaller, so you don't end up with as many kennel politic issues. Because dogs have their own personalities, and when you've got 8 dogs with 8 different personalities, you do end up with politics.
Yeah. Where does Tonrar sit there?
Tonrar is the top. He's the big boy of the pack. Mm-hmm. So he pretty well generally rules the roost, and they all know it. And he's very, very good at it. He uses his voice a lot. I've never seen him even mouth a dog or take it, trying to take a piece of a dog. He has had a fight with one of the Huskies, the big male Husky Zane, which is Zach's dog. Those two don't see eye to eye. They're both dominant males. Tonrar is about twice the size of Zane, so Zane doesn't hold much hope against him. So for Zane's own safety, we typically we will never have those two out in the yard at the same time. But it was unfortunate. You talk about learning experiences. The reason they fought was my fault, and it's something I'll always regret doing. It's certainly a thing I learned from. So when Zane came in, so as you said before, we are a sledding family. We sled our dogs. Zane was new. We took him to a new forest. I've necklined him to Tonrar so he could go out and run with us and learn. And Tonrar is very excitable. You put his harness on, he knows what he's there to do. And until he's released, he will not stop screaming, and he won't stop lunging, and he goes a bit nuts. And unfortunately, I necklined him with Zane. and Zane was scared. He was terrified. He had no idea what was going on. And by the time I'd read the body language on Zane, it was already too late. Zane's snapped at Tonrar from lunging, and Tonrar won't take kindly to being snapped at, being a big dominant Malamute male. And he's literally just turned around, just throwing Zane onto his back and just pinned him by his neck. Now, that's as far as Tonrar went. He just pinned him and said, "That's not going to work, buddy. That's not the way you treat me." And it was good. I released him easily. Tonrar didn't hold any grudges about it. We walked him for about 3K after that, side by side, bumping into each other, all that sort of stuff. There seemed to be no further lingering issues. But the very next time they were in the backyard and had the ability to get to each other, Zane's gone to go Tonrar again, and it ended up the same way. So we swore from then on that those two would never be in the yard again. So Tonrar is, he's a dominant Malamute male. He rules the roosts, but he does it very, very well in a way that he won't affect the other dogs, or he won't harm the other dogs. He sort of just goes, "This is me, and if I don't like you, I'll tell you so, but I'll never do anything about it." It's only the fact that Zane said it was my fault that one day in the forest I did something foolish. It was a mistake that I made. And unfortunately, now the dogs have paid the price for that one. And it's certainly a mistake I'd never make again. But it's growing. The most we'd ever owned was 3 dogs, and now we're up to 8, and we have rescues. And I think the other thing you need to keep in mind too is rescues come in with their own issues that you don't know about, and it's working out what those issues are. And unfortunately, everything sort of culminated that day, and we didn't know enough about Zane to put him in that situation. And now, unfortunately, that the situation occurred. But live and learn, I suppose. It's something, when people come into the club and they've got rescue dogs and stuff like that, it's just one more thing that I can sort of talk about to have people realise, what they've done is a great thing. So, all 4 of our Siberians are all rescues. But they come with issues that you need to be aware of. And if you want to start introducing more and more dogs, then you need to be aware of the behaviours and the issues that those other dogs come with.
And so, really, apart from that, as Tonrar was there, and you had more dogs coming into the household and being introduced to the pack, or the building pack, obviously he had no real issues.
No. So his first instinct with any dog to come into the pack is play. Let's just play. So he's really benevolent in that way. I can put him, with the exception of Zane, I can put him with any dog in the yard, and he doesn't have a problem with them at all. The most he'll do is run around. It's actually quite humorous because the huskies just strip him apart when he comes to speed. But he'll do his best to run, and he'll realise that's not going to happen. So then he'll strategically position himself somewhere in the yard that he knows they're going to run past, and he'll crash jump on as they come past. So what he misses in speed, he makes up in brains.
Nice. And where does he run in the pack?
He's always my lead. He's always been my lead dog, and that's just purely out of experience. He's now 6. He's been running 5 years now. So he's got the experience, he knows the commands and those sorts of things. And so I use him to teach the other dogs. So he's ran as one dog. He always run as a 2-dog team with his sister Tinker when we had her here for 2 years, fostering from my breeder. And then back to 1 dog last year with Cheezel coming into the pack midwinter. Obviously, she was too young to run. So they're now training side by side this winter. And now I've got the 2 twins that are now 8 months old. So now they're putting in their team. So he's gone from a 1-dog to a 2-dog to a 1-dog and now a 4-dog team. So a 4-dog Malamute team. But he's my lead dog only because he's got the knowledge. Now, will he stay there? Probably not. I'm not even sure whether he'll run in the 4-dog team yet. The 3 new ones are very, very fast. They're very quick. They've got longer legs. They're a leaner build. They are fast dogs, and I'm not sure whether Tonrar is going to have the build or the speed to keep up with them. So initially, I'll use him for training him for commands and stuff like that, so they all get used to driving the team. And he's certainly got the strength to pull them along. But we'll see what happens this year. If I can get him fit and get him down, he's massively overweight at the moment. He's carrying about extra 5 kilos. So if we can get that off him and get him fit, then he'll probably drop back to wheel I think I'll end up putting the girls up in lead and dropping back to wheel just because of his strength in his brute force. But who knows? But yeah, for the moment he's lead. We'll see how the team plays out this year.
Any memorable sort of runs or races that you've had with him?
I still have to laugh about this one. I giggle at something trying again, and the two other people that were there at the time both sit there in astoundment that actually occurred. So we're on a run in Wingello State Forest. It was a race. I think it was just a fun run or a training run or something like that, maybe a boot camp. So I think it was a race. And you might know it, but certainly most of your listeners won't. As you're coming down the back straight at Wingello, you cross a creek and then you come up a really steep hill back into the campsite.
Mm-hmm.
And for whatever reason, Chris Turton was on the left-hand side of the trail and his dogs just stopped and started looking at something in the creek. Leanne has gone to go on by on his right-hand side and her dogs have stopped and crossed the trail to stand next to Chris's in the creek. So I've got a scooter and dogs on the left. I've got a scooter and a gang line across the whole.
Lost you after gang line across the trail.
Okay, so the gang line's across the trail. I've got 3 dogs on the left-hand side of the trail. I've got scooters on both sides of the trail and a gang line crossing the whole entire thing. And we're coming down the hill doing about 27, 28 kilometres an hour. And I've just looked, and Leanne's just seen me coming down. She goes, there's no way I was going to stop. She knew there's no way I was stopping. I couldn't pull him up in time. So she's literally just grabbed the gang line and just held it up in the air like that. Probably just not much higher than the handlebars. And I've just yelled out to Tonrar, on by! And literally we have ducked under the gang line and then up the hill.
Yeah.
And
how was your heart going then?
About 1,000,000 mile an hour. And we've got to the top of the hill. It was a training camp. It was an intro day actually. And I've got to the top of the hill, and Pete Rose is up there talking to a couple of guys, and I've just sort of got to the top, and I've just sort of pulled Tonrar up, right in front of our campsite, dropped the scooter, just walked over to Pete and went, "How good is this sport?" And he's gone, "I know it's unreal." He goes, "What just happened?" Because you could tell the look on my face was just, it was just full of adrenaline. And sort of told him the story. Yeah. And Leanne and Chris have come up, and we're just sitting there, the 4 of us, just pissing ourselves laughing at what just occurred. Because if we'd missed by an inch, I would have been taken off at the head, and there would have been scooters and rigs and dogs everywhere. But yeah, it's just just one of those runs you had. It was a really good run. There were no issues with it at all, and he's just run past them all without blinking. And sort of Leanne's had to quick think and throw the gang line up and get us under it.
Excellent.
But, it's probably one of those things that'll always stick in my mind on a run.
And how's Tonrar with the local wildlife?
Well, if it moves, he eats it. He's an Arctic. They're not known for their flora and fauna care factor. If it moves, he'll look at eating it. He's a Malamute. The others are Huskies. That's what they are. Whether it's a lizard, a beetle, a bird, nothing's going to be safe in their backyard.
And when he's on the rig and running?
Kangaroos are awesome turbo bikes. I dream of kangaroos running across the trail or running down the trail because I know he's going to chase. We were lucky one day. It's another sort of funny story. Michael Little and myself were out. He's taken his Malamutes out. I've taken Tonrar and Tinker. I think he had Dash, maybe Zuka. He's gone first. I've gone second. We were only 10 minutes apart, I suppose. He's gone around a corner and 15 deer went across the front of the trail, right in front of the dogs. So it was like, so sitting there grabbing the scooters, all brakes locked up, grabbing the gang lines, trying to pull the dogs back around. And eventually we've got the dogs moving again. But they're all sitting there looking at these deer that have gone up this trail, and they're sitting there going, wanting to go to this deer. And I said, that's fine, just keep looking at those deer, because about 2 meters to my left, running right beside us, was a wombat. and, which would have been just as interesting. So yeah, I was just lucky that they cared more about those deer that went across the trail than they didn't manage to spot the wombat that was literally right beside him running along the trail at the same time. So wildlife, and most people find that, especially if they're running Arctic dogs, wildlife are always a very good entertainment, or at the very least a very good turbo button if they're running in the right direction.
How's things go care wise? Say, I'm guessing. I know Pete was saying with a household full of Siberians that everything's just hair everywhere. Same with you guys.
We when we lived in Penrith, we had a small 3-bedroom house, and the time we had between 3 and 4 dogs living in that environment, and they had run of the house. They slept on the bed. The Tonrar and Triad slept in the bedroom, either side of the bed. So yeah, there was fur everywhere, and it was just horrific. And at the time, we didn't think much of it. But when we moved and we built the new home, we did a few things here a little bit differently. There's a doorway that separates the sleeping areas to the living areas, and that was put there so the kids could sleep while I was watching movies. Mm-hmm. But it serves a second purpose. The dogs are not allowed in the sleeping area. And I said to Karen, after 20 odd years of being woken up in the middle of the night by a Malamute hair sticking up my nose, I've had enough. So we took the decision that they don't go to the sleeping quarters anymore. They're no longer allowed in the bedrooms, but they certainly are allowed in the living areas. And if you live with especially Arctic breeds long enough, you learn that fur is actually a condiment to a meal. It's not something that you sort of get freaked out about. It's like you're looking at a bit of fur, pick that out, throw it away. It's just one of those things that you sort of become accustomed to. For work, I've got a hair remover in my bottom desk drawer at work. Obviously, running a business and having business meetings and stuff like that, I can't actually walk into a meeting in a suit covered in fur. So you tend to live with it. We've got fur removers in the glove box of the vehicles. We've got fur removers in the house. We have fur removers in my office. You learn to adapt to it, and you learn to live with it. And if the backyard doesn't look like it's been a fur explosion at some point during the week from brushing a dog, then someone's been slack that week.
So apart from being proficient in running in a rig and in running with a team, other parts of training, like obedience wise or anything else that you can say about Tonrar?
All dogs in Tonrar, and I grew up with German Shepherds back when I was a kid. So one of the first things that was drilled into me right from the start was just plain, boring, monotonous, but absolutely religious obedience training. The sits, the stays, the comes not so much with Arctics. Their recall is almost akin to a cat. They don't come when they call. They have answering machines. Mm-hmm. But that basic obedience of not eating their food until they're directed that they can, or just those little things. Because without that basic control of a dog, walking on leads properly, which is hard to do, especially with Arctics. If you teach them to pull, they're going to want to pull regardless whether they're in harness or whether they're on the lead. So it is hard to balance between the two. Michael Little's probably the best I've got. Best I know that can do it. All these Malamutes are beautiful on lead, and they're perfect in harness. I wish I knew his secret other than time. I think it's basically just the amount of time he spends with them. But no, they all have to be basic obedience trained before they even think about getting line out or things like that. Because you can't teach them line out unless they know the basic command of stay or line sorts of lines.
Okay. So has Tonrar got any sort of like interesting habits?
He eats rock.
It's rock. Well, that was going to be my next question, is to complete the sentence. I can't believe my dog ate
rocks. Ever since he was a puppy, he just eats anything. rocks, stick, bits of wood, charcoal. It doesn't matter. And unfortunately, he's passing that habit on to the other Malamutes, because even the twins, the new ones that came in, I call them the potty calves, because they spend most of the day walking around the backyard just chewing on grass. But yeah, he just eats rock. And yeah, there were times when he was a puppy, and sorry about your listeners, but he would literally just poo a pile of rock. There'd be nothing else in it. He would just pass a pile of rock. It's like, there's something seriously wrong with you, dog.
Any vet sort of visits as a result of any of that, or?
No, there's no issue. We've had him completely vet checked and blood worked and all that sort of stuff. Is there something we don't recognise here?
Mm-hmm.
No, he's a perfectly healthy dog, just likes to chew on rock. Just weird.
No, after asking that question to a few people, there is no weird answer to that.
No, it's not. We've done as much research as we possibly can to try and come up with a reasoning why, and there is just no reasoning why other than the fact that it is what it is. But we talked to Penny, our breeder, and we said, this is what's happening. She goes, that's just like, I think it might have even been his father. He said, did the same, or Dougie, one of his cousins, did the same. She would just eat rock, and that was it. So it's just one of those really weird things.
So any sort of like favourite type of rock, or any rock?
No, just any rock. Any rock.
Fair enough.
Clumps of clay. Doesn't matter. You imagine a dog wouldn't eat that? No, he will. He'll eat it.
What about favourite games?
He loves to roughhouse with me. He won't do it with anyone else in the house.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know whether I want to pick on Dad, but our house is elevated from the dog yard, so it's probably about a 2-meter incline up to the house, which I'm fencing off and retaining wall at the moment. So he's going to be disappointed shortly. But I'll let him out. He'll run to the top of that. He'll spin around and just play bow, and he'll wait till I get up there, and then he'll just launch at me, and that'll be it. The wrestle will be on, and we'll wrestle and roughhouse, and then he'll start doing zoomies, and our backyard's it's an acre, so he'll run from one side of it to the other, and he'll swing straight past me, so I can tap him on his way past,
mm-hmm.
and then he'll go up to and spin around and play bow again, and I'll have to lunge at him, and then he'll get up and go again. So it's a game every morning and every night. You have to sit there and play with Dad. And then, after he's done a few zoomies, he'll start to lunge at me then. And, being lunged at by a 44-kilo Alaskan Malamute at full strength takes a beating, because he'll mouth around my arms at the same time. So he'll be like, I'm going to tackle Dad now. So he'll lunge at me and just mouth around my arm and try and tell me that I have to go up down. Of course, I don't. I'll just flip him onto his back and give him big belly rubs, and then he'll get up and run away again.
Nice.
But that's his game every day, and he'll only do it with me. He won't do it with anyone else in the family. It has to be Dad.
What about water? How's he like the water, or?
In summer, he's a water baby. So I used to take him for walks in the morning, especially when we're living in Penrith, where it's a lot hotter than obviously up here in the Tablelands.
Mm-hmm.
And we had those kiddie pools, those hard plastic shells. And I always had that 3/4 half full of water. So we go for a walk in the mornings. By the time we get back, he'd be at 25. You walk 5K. So he'd come back, he'd be hot. So he would just literally walk out the backyard and just curl up in that and just plonk himself down and just soak in that for an hour or so. So he loves his water. Hit him with the hose, those sorts of things. He's certainly not afraid of the water, especially if he's running.
Any tips on drying him afterwards?
No. In winter, all their kennels are full of straw in winter, and the same as the dog trailer. And that's actually to aid with exactly that, the moisture on them. So obviously being a dual coated, they don't get wet underneath. So they can literally soak in a pool, and it's only the outer coat that gets wet. Very, very rarely will it go into the inner coat. So we find by putting straw in their beds or in the dog trailer, especially in winter where they've got often wet, they'll jump in there, and the straw absorbs that water off them and takes that away. and helps keep them a lot warmer than what they normally would. And then we'll change those. If we have a really wet week, we'll change that out every couple of days just to keep it fresh for them and just keep them dry in that way. Water is a problem with them, with Arctics, in the fact that they can get what we call hot spots. If they get moisture into the skin, or they end up with a small cut or an abrasion on their skins and stuff like that, and start to sweat around that area, it starts to become infected very, very quickly. And the only way to combat it is to shave that particular spot to get air into it so it can actually dry it out. So we are very cognitive of water getting on them, but other than hitting them with a towel at the end of it to try and dry that outer coat off, there's not really a lot you can do other than spending about 4 hours with a blow dryer.
Industrial leaf blower.
We do have a grooming dryer for them. So we've got our own obviously with 8 of them, we have our own hydro bath and our own dryers, because it take you a lot of money at Pet Barn to put 8 dogs through. So,
time.
And time, yes. So we have our own gear here. So, if we do bar them, we do dry them completely out. Or if they have a really, really bad week, especially in summer. Summer's where we worry about it because you get the heat and humidity. If they get a really bad week, we'll jump on the table and actually dry them completely out.
You touched on a cut. So has that Tonrar ever had any sort of like injuries that sort of like needed more than just a little bit of attention?
God, where do we start? Serious. He was a good puppy. Yeah, he never sort of got hurt as a puppy. But as an adult, we've certainly had our issues. As I said, we fostered Tinker, our breeders, one of our breeders' bitches, for a little while. We actually ran her for 2 seasons. And we came home one day and Tonrar was limping. And we couldn't worked out very quickly why. He had blood all over both of his front legs. And it worked out that the next door neighbour's dogs had come through the paddock and started harassing the 2 Malamutes at the fence. And of course, both of them got very, very agitated by that. And they couldn't get to the dogs that were agitating them, so they decided they'd get to each other. So Tinker chewed on Tonrar's front legs. So he had I think we counted 13 puncture wounds in his front legs.
Mm-hmm.
Which, it went bad. We shaved him, disinfected him and stuff like that. But it was right at the start of the main race season. So that pretty well knocked us out for the entire season. While these wounds all healed up. The biggest scare, he's had differently. He got into foolishly, again, owner, dumb. I left a container of macadamia nuts in the TV room one night after watching a movie. He found the container of macadamia nuts. So that was straight to the vet to get him to throw those up. And then not long after that, in our pantry, we've got 2 big feed bins that have closed lids on them. Should have closed lids on them. I was outside working in the yard, working on the dog trailer, doing something or other. Karen was inside doing a sidetrack, might have been doing laundry or something. And someone left the pantry door open. And one of the bin lids weren't actually on. So Tonrar helped himself to, we estimate, about 4 kilograms of dry dog food.
Oh.
We had no idea. Anyway, he's come back inside. He's gone outside and wandered around. I've gone inside, so he's come inside. And the next minute, he's got laying down and just started screaming his lungs out. And we've rushed him to the vet immediately because we knew something. I felt him like he was rock solid. And the first immediate thing that went through my mind was bloat. So we've rushed into the vet. They've x-rayed and said, no, it's not bloat, but his stomach is massive. Like, it's huge. It's full of something. And of course, we start going sort of thinking, well, he eats a lot of rock and he eats clay all the time, all this sort of stuff. Yeah. So, and the vet's done a rectal check and she's actually pulled rocks out. And she goes, oh, okay, you're not lying. I went, no, we're not. So we started thinking he's actually just eaten that much crap. He's actually just filled himself up. And so they went, no worries. He's not in any pain. There's no signs of bloat. There's no gas in his stomach and those sorts of things. Take him home and just monitor him. And they gave him a couple of sedatives and stuff like that. No worries. So we got home. Karen's gone to feed the dogs. And she's looked into the bin. She's picked up the cup that we used to measure out the food and had saliva in it. And at that second, we knew what had happened. So we rang the vet, said, this is what's occurred. We know what it is now. And they've gone, get him here now. And I've taken him in, they've whacked him on an IV, because the biggest danger is now is as that dog food starts to break down, he's going to dehydrate.
Dehydrate, yep, absolutely, that much.
And at the same time, as the food breaks down, his stomach is going to start to fill with gas, and that's where bloat and torsional twist become a big danger. So we've taken him in, dropped him off. They said, we'll leave him here for the night. No worries. I've come home. The vet's rang me back. She goes, I've just talked to the senior vet for the practice. Get here now. You need to get him down to Homebush. All right, no worries. So we've raced in. So by now it's about 9. So it's 9 o'clock at night. We've rushed in to get him. And this is where living out in the tablelands does start to become a problem, because now I've got a dog on an IV drip in an emergency situation that I have now to get to the middle of Sydney. So we've rushed him down, got to Homebush at the animal hospital there at about 11 o'clock that night, and admitted him there. And all went well. He got through that. Made for a very couple of sleepless nights. He was in there for 2 nights.
Mm-hmm.
And I can still remember now going to pick him up. He strutting up the hallway, smiling, tail up, like nothing ever occurred.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, you shove a dog. You've just put me through 48 hours of hell, wondering whether you're going to survive this. And he trots out later, nothing ever happened.
Did they have to operate at all, or?
No. Luckily, everything went really well. So the food digested normally. He passed it normally. The hydration levels stayed right up. They said that the thing that saved him was the fact that we got onto it so quickly,
mm-hmm.
and got him down to the hospital so quickly. They said if you hadn't reacted so fast, it could have been a very, very different outcome.
Oh, yeah. Heart-stopping.
That night was.
Yeah. Apart from that one, hopefully not too much else.
Oh, the vet knows as well. But he has been to the vet once at a request. So we had a phone call from the vet one day. They had a dog in with a blood disease, and it needed 100% full blood transfusion. And they rang us and said, listen, we need a dog to help us out. We've run out of blood. We can't give, we've got no more in the cupboards. There's no more that we can get in. We need a dog to transfuse blood. And they said, can you help us out? And I went, no worries. Which dog do you want? And they said, the big one. All right, no worries. So it was, I think it was the start of last season, about March last year. He went into hospital and actually spent the day in there donating blood and actually saved the dog's life.
Oh, that's cool.
So he's been to the vet once for a good reason.
I think that's something a lot of people don't think about. Everyone is encouraged as humans to go and donate blood, but for pets, especially dogs, not a lot of people think, oh yeah, I'll just take my dog down to the vet so they can take a little bit.
Yeah, it's certainly something that never sort of occurred to us. And I've had dogs in emergency situations, as I just said before, and never even occurs to me, where does that blood come from? The vets are saying that they've got their own bank there, and if they get low, they normally use their own dogs, but they just had a week, literally, where they were getting smashed with blood transfusions, not only from that dog, but from other instances as well, snake bites and stuff like that, being warm months.
Mm-hmm.
And they'd used up all their supplies, they'd used up all their dogs, and they needed help. So we didn't even think twice about getting Tonrar down there. So
nice to help out someone else.
Yeah, so if you need more of another 6-7 up, they're hard to go. So,
Okay. Well, thank you very, very much for sharing some of your life with Tonrar. So it's appreciated. I know that everyone is really going to enjoy this episode again, I think. So is there anything else that you can sort of add as a parting sort of short story about Tonrar?
Not about so much about Tonrar, about dogs in general.
Yeah, go for it.
People get freaked out. A lot of people we know get freaked out when we say we've got 8 dogs. 8 dogs. Now, how do you have 8 dogs? It happens like this. You get 1, then you get 2, then you get 3. Pretty much anything after that is just a number. It really is. Once you get to 3, anything after, if you go past 3, you really down a path that you just don't, it's not a point anymore. It's just a number of dogs. But they're beautiful animals. And if I could own more, I probably would. My wife would kill me for saying that. But you've always got to be cognizant that, 8 dogs, 8 personalities, and 8 different needs as well. So enjoy them, love as many as you can within your means. Support things like rescues and reputable breeders. And for the love of God, please don't go to Gumtree to buy a dog. But they're beautiful animals. But once you get to 3 dogs, it's just a number after that. So if you ever wonder why people have more than 3 dogs, it's because they've reached a point where it's just a number, that they have something in mind. And for us, it was a mission. I wanted a 4-dog Malamute team. Karen wanted to run Huskies, and the boys want 1 each. So for us, we had a definite plan 5 years ago, and we worked towards that plan, and we've reached that plan now. So that's where we stopped. But
excellent. And for those people that might not have listened to the episode I did with Pete, I'm going to give a quick blurb for the running club.
So Siberian Express, we're an all-breed running club. So if you've got any dog, it doesn't matter, medium size upwards. I probably wouldn't come with a Dachshund, but a medium-sized dog that loves to run.
You're going to discriminate against a Dachshund.
They've got Dash in the name. Yeah, I think it'd be good, but I think putting them in harness might be a bit harsh. But any medium-sized dog, Kelpies, Coolies, cattle dogs, we've got all of them in the club. Aussie Shepherds, Collies, yourself with a Doberman. We've got, GSPs. If a dog loves to run and it's medium size and upwards, then really search out New South Wales Siberian Express on Facebook. Look for us, talk to us. We'll happily chat and answer any questions you can online that you can come up with. And when we finally get past all this current world situation, we will be back in the forest and we will be out there running dogs. And please, we do advertise where we are. So come out, see what it's all about. It is the most fun you will ever have with a dog, ever.
I'm not going to argue too much on that. It really is. And they're doing what they're meant to do.
That's it. They're doing what they're meant to do.
Thank you very much again for your time. It's great talking to you, and I'm really looking forward to catching up real soon.
Hopefully we'll see each other in the forest shortly, Rob.
Take care.
See you, mate.
Thank you very much for listening. I hope that you enjoyed the show. Please jump on to the Relaxed Dog Podcast Facebook group and let me know what you liked about it. Let me know what you don't like about it. I sometimes wonder about putting too much negative dog news out there and whether I should keep doing that or not. Let me know, please. Also, voting is still open on the I Can't Believe My Dog Ate. Until next week, stay safe and remember, your dog is family.